Hi guys, what's up? Thanks for joining me in this video. We're just going to take a quick look at cutscenes. So I'm just going to start a third person template and I'm just going to name it cutscene 1 and we're going to create the project. In this video we're just going to do a basic overview of the cutscene and how we would use the sequencer to create a camera animation which would give us the cutscene look. Essentially, a cutscene. What is a cutscene to start with? A cutscene is usually used in a game where we need to draw or guide a player to a certain area of the game. So that might be that there is a key hidden behind a wall, and you'll receive a cutscene, which will then be a fly through the game to show you where the key is, and a fly back to give you some sort of guidance of this is where you probably want to go, or whether it wants to draw your attention to another element of the game that otherwise without the cutscene you possibly could miss. Or if it's earlier on in a game, it might set up a bit of a scene of it might fly, the camera might pull back a little bit from the map to give you a perspective of how big the game is, and it just, it helps set a scene. It's a cutscene. So, without any more, let's just get straight into this. So, here in the third person template, what we're going to do is we're just going to set up a little bit of a scenario for it actually to look a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start by moving this little question mark coin or element, whatever you would call it. I'm just going to pop it at the top of the stairs, and with that being at the top of the stairs, I want to use this as a trigger for us to tell the game that if I run into this question mark, I need a hint. Start the cutscene for me. So because I need it to be a trigger, at the moment it's not set up to be a trigger, I'm just going to grab a box trigger from the basics actors panel, and I'm just going to grab a box trigger and I'm just going to try and place it as close as I can to that. I'm just going to come over to the side here a little bit and just neaten that up a little bit, make sure that it is in good enough zone to make sure I'm going to hit it. Okay, so I now have a box trigger ready to go. The next thing I need to do is actually create a cutscene to trigger. So with that, I'm just going to show you a little handy trick. You can use either a cinematic camera or a camera actor camera. Now I personally prefer the camera actor cameras because they don't have as many annoying perspectives and ratio settings that you have to fiddle with. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use the editor's camera to set up where I want this camera to start from. So I'm going to get it to start from here like this. So I'm going to be here and it's going to start, my camera's going to start from here and end up somewhere else. So to add a camera, what we can do, you can either grab the cinematic cameras or some other cameras that are in there, but in this little menu here in the top left there is actually a create camera here sort of feature. Now I prefer the camera actor. You can have a cinema camera actor, but again, like I said, I'm not too fond of them with the field of views and aspect ratios that you have to set up. It's just a bit more of a nuisance for me. So, camera actor, and basically what that's done is it's created a camera exactly where our viewport were, which is great because that's exactly where I wanted to start from. So, with that, what we need to do now is create a cinematic sequence. So, to start that, let's go to cinematics at the top and add level sequence. This can actually just save something, so I'm just going to call this cutscene 1. Okay, so if you haven't already got it docked, this should now bring up the sequencer and you can just drag and dock it anywhere you like. And essentially it's just a timeline. And in a sense what you can do is you can track several items on throughout your scene, and you can just tell it, you know, in this amount of time do this, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to select the camera that we just created in our scene, and this is the thing that we want to track. So now with it selected, if we go down to the sequencer and click on track, we can go to the top here, actors to sequencer, and because we have it selected, it's there pinned at the top, add camera actor. Brilliant. So let's click on that. And now you can see a few things have changed in the sequencer. We've got these two things now. We've got camera cuts and a camera actor. And then the camera actor is made up of several different components. So the actual component itself, its transform, its field of view, and these are all things that we can change. The thing that we're interested in really is the location, which would come under transform. Here we go. Now, just to make sure that we get the location, the rotation, the size and all that sort of stuff included all at the same time, what we're going to do is we're just going to click on this little plus symbol now next to transform. And what that's done is that's recorded what's called a keyframe, and that's basically took a note of the location that it currently is and its rotation. So all the information which is telling it to sit here in our scene has now been recorded. So the good thing is that's our starting position, and we're really happy about that now. So we need to go to some point in the future and then tell it, right, now I want you to be here instead. So the easiest way for me that I found to do that is what I do is I actually click on this little key, diamond key here. Now what that does, that's actually called, I call it auto keyframe, and essentially when we now move the camera it will update the information. Now actually what I'm going to do, so if we was to move along in time and move the camera now, it will record at that time, but if you don't move and you move it anyway, it'll update this. That's a downside, because sometimes you can make mistakes and overwrite the previous information that you had. So I'm going to turn that off actually for this, but just bear in mind that that's there and you can use that. So with that being said, I'm going to move our timeline forward now to about 75. Now I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the units of this are. I don't think that's 75 seconds, but I could be wrong, I don't know. So I'm going to move forward to 75 units, and what we need to do now is move the camera to a position that we're happy with, and then we need to record its location so then it can transition between one to the other. The easiest way I found to do that is if we select our camera again, right click, and we can go to pilot camera. That's basically, we can now take control of this camera. So wherever I put this, it's dragging the camera along with me. So I'm going to move it here to try and draw a bit of emphasis on this block, this little block here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this stop piloting button, and we can see that the camera is now here where we've just piloted it to. So what we need to do now is we need to create a keyframe for its new location. So because the timeline is now been set to 75, if we go to the transform as we did before and click add keyframe, you can see now we've got a red spot on 75. Now if you watch, when I move this timeline back, you will see the camera moves and swings around to sort of mimic it. Yep. So we've now got a sort of keyframe. Oh well, of course it disappears when you press play. And if we select it, we can actually see that there is a kind of spline or like a guide for the camera to go down. So that, if we press play, we should be able to see this little preview. We can see our little cutscene. Brilliant. That's exactly what we want. But we don't want it to be this long. Like it's you know, as soon as we get to here, we kind of want to stop it a little bit after, because you don't want your cutscene to go on forever. So let me just press play and watching this preview. I'm just gonna say okay. Yeah, that's enough time. Pause. So, 85 that landed on. I'm going to give it a little bit extra. I'm going to move it to 90. So that's going to give us a little bit more time just to see what was in focus at the time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this little red line here back to our 90. And that's kind of like my start and end. Now, there's one other thing that we need to adjust while we're here, is the camera cut. Now, what a camera cut is this is a feature that tells Unreal that I want to swap from one camera to another. So we're running around, we're using our sort of, let's have a look, we're using our character's camera actor, so that's the one that's following us around. Now when we hit this trigger box, we don't want it to use our character's camera, we want it to use the cutscene camera, and that's what this cut is going to do. It's going to tell us, right, when this plays, I want you to cut to this other camera so then I can see the cutscene. But we then need to tell it, okay, now I want to cut back to my character's camera, so then I'm not, you know, lost on this cutscene forever. So what we're going to do, we're going to drag this down to the end. You'll see it's got like a bit of an orange fuzzy line around it, or a yellow checker box type thing. We're going to drag that down and drag that to our end point, and that's give us now a camera cut. And that's pretty much all we need to do in the sequencer. So now we've tracked the camera and we've got our cut. That's perfect. Now we just need to link it all together. So to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to put a blueprint together in the level blueprint, which is going to tie all this together. So before we do, we're going to need to use this trigger box. So let's try and click, and there we go. We've selected trigger box now, and with that selected, we're going to go to blueprints at the top, and we're going to open up the level blueprint. Now because we selected that trigger box, let me just dock this to the top. Because we selected that trigger box, if we right click now, the top option here will be add an event for the trigger box, and we're going to set that to collision. Sorry, we're going to pick collision, and we're going to select the action on actor begin overlap. So that just means if my character or some other character steps over this box, I want it to trigger an event. And what event do we want to trigger? We want to play a sequence. Now what this does, it actually creates a level sequence player. Now that'll give us the option now to select our level cutscene, and we want to select the cutscene 1 that we have just created. So now what we're saying is, once we overlap this box, create the player, and now what we want to do, we want to drag from the return value and we want to play that cutscene. Now there's quite a few things with play here, but we just want the generic player. So all in all, what this is going to do is we're going to overlap the trigger box, it's going to create a player, and then it's going to play the movie scene or the cutscene that we have created. If we give this a quick compile and we hit play, this should all work as described. So we're going to run up here, we're going to hit the trigger box, and we should start a cutscene. There we are, and it gives a little cutscene. Great, and then we can carry on and we can run around and we can do this. Great, we win the game. Amazing. Now, because this was set up the way it has been, we can walk over that again and we can start it up again. Now, I don't know if you noticed that just then, but we've got a little bit of a problem. When we hit the cutscene, we can keep moving. Now, you might not want to do that, because I walked back and forth then. I actually started that cutscene twice. So my cutscene's going to start again and again. That's not good. We want to be able to disable the character's movement whilst the cutscene is in action. Now, you may not want this, but in most cases you're probably going to want to stop the character from moving during the cutscene. This is pretty simple to get over actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our our map, and we're going to select our third person character, because we actually need to edit the character's blueprint. So what we're going to do is you can either click edit here with your character selected, you can click edit in your world outliner, or you can go to your concept browser, find your third person BP, go to blueprints and find third person character. Now, we're not using touch, so I'm actually going to highlight touch input and delete that. We're not using a gamepad, so I'm going to delete that, and we're not using VR, so I'm going to delete that, and just leave it with what we've got. So now what we've got is these red boxes are events. So basically, whenever there's an input from either your mouse or your keyboard, the axis that you've got set up, it's going to trigger movement. Now we want to be able to sort of disable this temporarily when the cutscenes are going. So we're going to need to set up a variable. So we're going to add a variable, and by default mine comes up as a boolean, and we're going to set this as can we move. And if yours isn't red or isn't a boolean, you can click on this little red pill and you can change it to a boolean. And what else we're going to do is we're going to turn this into an instance editable and expose on spawn, and we're just going to compile. And there's one other thing that we need is we want to set this to true. So by default, can we move? Yes, we can. So now we've created the boolean, we can fit it into our character's movement to sort of ask the question, can we move? Yep, okay, you can do so. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this in and we're going to do a get, which is can we move? Yes or no? And a branch. So, can we move? True, yes, brilliant. If we can, let's do that. Now I'm just going to select the branch and the can we move. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it around the rest of the place, rest of the blueprint, just to be, if it's true, do this, if it's not, don't do anything. We're going to do it for the same for the jump. Now I'm only going to put this on the pressed for now, because I guess if you're already jumping it should stop jumping. For the mouse, let's do that. Okay, and obviously you can spend time making this look a bit prettier, but for the purpose of this video I'm not going to worry about that too much. Okay, so we've got this can we move set up. That's brilliant. Great, so let me just press play, just make sure I've not messed anything up. Okay, we can still move, that's fine. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the level blueprint. So if you've closed it or it's not still open, you can go to blueprints and open level blueprint. Now what we need to do is we're going to make a bit more space. We need to cast to our third person character. If you're using a first person, you can cast to your first person, and we're just going to plug this in here. Now a cast to requires an object. Now the object that has overlapped the trigger box is going to be the other actor, so it's going to be the thing which has overlapped the box, which in our case we're going to be a third person. Now from this what we can do is we can get a can we move. So with our can we move, actually we don't want to check it, we actually want to set it. So can we move, we want to set. What we're going to do is we're going to leave it unticked because we want that to be false. So we've overlapped the box. Can we move? Nope, we don't want to move because we're about to enter a cutscene. Okay, so we've watched the cutscene. Now this happens pretty much immediately. We create the player and we press play, and then it's going to do the next thing, and the cutscene is going to be playing. So if we just say at the end here that can we move, set that to true, if we just put that straight in here, it's just going to go disable movement, press play, and then re-enable. But the cutscene's still going to be playing. So you know, we're not going to. We need to put some sort of delay in, so then it lasts as long as the cutscene. So for that, just quick and dirty and simple, we're just going to add a delay, and we're going to plug that in. Now, how long's our cutscene? Now, way I work it out is I go back to my sequencer and I go right. So it's 90 frames or 90 units, 30 frames a second. So 90 divided by 30, that's 3. So I am going to put a delay for 3 seconds. So for 3 seconds I shouldn't be able to move, and then it's going to let me move again afterwards. So let's just hit play, let's test this out. So if I run up here now, I shouldn't be able to move. Great, I can't. And then afterwards the cutscene ends and we can move back over here. Brilliant. And that's pretty much it. And obviously you're not limited to cameras. There are other things that you can add to this. You can add, you could add this cube and you could track that and add that to your sequencer and mech the cube. I don't know. Let's add a transform for the cube, and let's say that by the end of it I actually want that cube to be up here a little bit, over there, and I don't know. Let's just leave it there like that, and let's add another transform there. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so, and now we've created a transform for that too. So if we press play, you'll notice now that our cube actually becomes a part of the cutscene. Now, because I moved that there actually, I'm going to put that, and I'm going to put that back, I guess. Wait, yeah, I'm going to put that back. Now, I believe where is there is a feature actually, so that when the cutscene's over, it will actually save its position. So you'll notice that the cutscene ends, and then it instantly goes back to where it is. But it's not a feature that I use all that often. Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm going to need to take a drink. It's not often I talk so much. So let's try and find this feature together actually. Oh, key mesh. Properties, no. What's this? Nope. Nope. I'm not too sure, but what I'll do, I'll find it out and I'll put it in the description below. Because I'm pretty sure there is a feature that tells it stay in the position that you're in at the end of the cutscene. But I hope that that was useful for you, that you can create some cutscenes, and or animations. They're based off the ending. A little bit of a bonus tip there, although I couldn't give you all the information that I promised. But either way, I hope that helped. If it did, give us a like, that'd be appreciated. I do plan on making more videos similar, just with quick little tips, although that this video might not be quick anymore. And if you've got any suggestions, or if you do happen to find out where the save position feature is before I put it in the description, then please put it down in the comments, and I'd be very grateful for that if you beat me to it. But for now, thank you very much for watching,